From the intermediate bodiless place that is cyberspace, this is the Queen City Improvement Bureau Holiday Special. I guess. Each week, the dedicated staff of the Bureau meet to make recommendations, file reports, and float bodilessly over city council stuff. I don't know. It's cyberspace, people. We're in the future, but I'm treating it like it's the 90s. Whatever. This meeting is now in session. Ho, ho, ho.
What day is it? What day is it?
Why, it's Christmas Day, or perhaps Hanukkah, or definitely not Passover.
Do I have time to buy a goose?
Yes, you can buy many geese with your City Hall fun bucks.
Because I tell you, I hope it's a horrible dream that over the course of 5 days, these 11 terrifying ghosts who were actually really kind of boring kept showing up and telling me how I should be more of a miser and I should spend less money and I should, fire people and make everything kind of crummy because saving money.
Yep.
So I wasn't going to actually buy a goose. I just wanted to know if they were available so I wouldn't buy them and save a few points on the mill rate.
Oh, things are actually so bad these days that if you can't buy a goose, you can probably just get Tiny Tim and cook him up instead.
Well, I think it's going to come to that.
It's plenty of fine meat on that there, Tiny Tim, you'll say.
Before we go too far down the cannibalism route, should we do attendance?
Oh, sure. Let's see. I believe it is Purim Paul Deshane.
Yep, or Scrooge McPaul, as they call me today.
Scrooge McPaul. Nice. And I'm the ghost of Christmas Bits.
Excellent.
Because my bits are dead on arrival.
Also known as Aidan Morgan, I hear.
That's me. Oh, that's right. Yes, of course. Sorry, I mixed up the letters in my name.
That's okay.
Yeah, and found some new letters.
Cool. I had this a budget carol that I've just lived through. Oh, maybe you've heard.
What's going on? Tell me some details about this carol. And did it change your mind about the city overall? Did you wake up the next morning sort of changed?
It did actually. So just I'm going to jump right. I'm going to spoil the ending of this Christmas carol.
Oh wow, okay.
And the ending is that we have a 10.9% mill rate increase.
Well, that's
after the 5 days,
less than 15.69, but it's more than what we're used to.
Absolutely, it is quite a bit more than what we're used to, which is usually I think we usually cap out at 7%, I think was last year.
Yeah, and that was pretty high from, yeah.
Well, I actually, so there were multiple stages to this whole Christmas carol. The very first stage, night 2, was the best. So night 1, the ghost of policing past showed up.
Oh.
And they asked for their budget increase, which was 2.2% mill rate increase. And go ahead, guess. How did it turn out? Guess.
I predict that they had to keep on saying, no, please stop trying to give us more. We just want a 2.2% increase. But the council was like, here, have another percentage. And they're like, no, we can't.
Pretty much. Yeah. So they did get their 2.2%. I will say that the vote in the end was 6-5, which is closer than usual, but still not.
Yep.
There was actually Councilors Rasevich and Bezo were all set to send the police budget back to get them to find a little bit more. But what we learned, first of all, is that the last time the police budget got sent back, 2013. The other thing we learned is that you can send the police budget back to the Board of Police Commissioners, and the Board of Police Commissioners can say, yeah, we don't want to change it. We're going to, and send back the same budget. And then council has to decide, are we going to follow our legislated requirement of funding police or not? That's what it came to. And so, yeah, council voted 6-5 to pass the police budget. But then after that, what happened was delegates came out, and we talked about this last time we got together.
Fewer than we predicted by a long, by a sizable margin, like by a third. Yeah,
it was a whole bunch of people came out, and it was nice. So from the end of like day one, and all through day two, it was people saying, "Hey, don't cut the mill rate, fund my stuff," or alternately, invest in the city. We want you to invest in the city. There was only like 3, maybe 4 delegations that came. Okay, 2 delegations came out to say, cut the budget by cutting fluoride. Nobody paid any attention to them. The Chamber of Commerce and Harvard came out to say, don't pass a 15.69% mill rate increase. That's way too high. You got to cut the budget. But then it was beautiful because they got taken apart by councillors Fro, Mancinelli, and Flores, who basically got them to admit that they got a lot of benefit from property taxes. And they were like, well, yeah, no, don't cut the benefits that we get. We just don't want to pay for everybody else's stuff.
Right. Yeah, no, we like taxes when they end up benefiting us, but not anybody else.
Yeah. But I wanted to play a bit here and actually see if you can guess who is speaking in this clip. And this really sort of sets the tone for a lot of the delegations. And it actually turned out to be the last delegation of the budget season.
Strongtowns Regina delivered you an open letter with a copy of Strongtowns yesterday, so I won't reiterate our arguments. That being said, I would like to make a personal statement as a member of the community. I have a confession to make. I want to pay taxes. In fact, I love taxes. I believe taxes are how we collectively invest in public goods that make city life possible. I'm a member of the Cathedral Village Arts Festival Board. I use city facilities for my book club meetings, which the majority of members attend via public transportation. I like bird watching in A.E. Wilson Park, and I often walk along the multi-use pathways at the end of 13th Avenue. I'm a power user of Regina's ebook app, Livy, and you'll often find me at the Artesian seeing Heritage Regina lectures, musical acts, or CJTR radio hosts. All of these things are supported by the city through the taxes that I pay. Taking dollars away from them takes away from the opportunities residents have to connect, create, and belong. I will probably be one of the only people you will hear this week who wants to pay, indeed is asking to pay, the full 15+ mill rate increase, because that increase is necessary. I'm in an incredible position of privilege to be able to say that, but the truth is that the mill rate has come from years of underinvestment in the city's infrastructure, and the bill is due. The city would potentially not be in the position of having to cut critical services if we had higher taxes in the past, but today we are focused on the now. So for the sake of the now, I'm willing to contribute so our city can stop making short-term cuts and start making strategic investments. My ask of council is simple. Please use that funding to make decisions that increase equity, fiscal sustainability, resilience, and livability. I've been so thrilled to see the city make progress in eliminating parking minimums, building the transit master plan, which I would still like to see fully implemented, by the way, and increasing density through the housing accelerator. I would like the city to make further progress in this, allowing more flexible zoning for small commercial space and supporting the incredible small business community, taxation of vacant storefronts, or consolidation of the number of parking lots in downtown. I'm personally calling on the city to do the opposite of what some councilors are calling for: widen the sidewalks, narrow the roads, increase investment in transit by building more multi-use pathways, and increasing bus frequency to 15 minutes for all stops. And above all, invest in more shelter capacity and wraparound services in partnership with the province. These choices don't just make Regina more livable, they make it more fiscally sustainable, which I think ultimately is what everyone is asking of the city. Regina residents deserve a city that isn't trapped in a cycle of cuts and catch-up every year. And if anyone would like to borrow my copy of Donald Shute's The High Cost of Free Parking, just let me know.
All right.
Wow.
Can you guess who that was?
I'm going to make a wild guess. That it was not Lori Bresciani.
No.
B, but my more positive guess is that I think it was friend of the Bureau and former guest, and it's Kelly.
It is.
Is it Lorenk or Lorenk? I never know how to pronounce
Lawrence.
Lawrence. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It's Kelly. Yeah.
Yeah. From
That's
the Queen
cool.
City Urbanist Book Club. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes. And so that was just friggin' delightful. And she answered a bunch of questions from council, equally delightful. And I don't know, I came out of day 2 just, very happy to, during a budget session, to have, so many positive vibes for an entire day. Everybody was like, the city's great. You just need to put more in it. I mean, people were like alarmed. There were some people who were like quite stern and lecturing council about, you underfund everything. You really ought not to do that. But, for the most part, people were like, thanks for the money.
There is, however, there's one thing, though, that Kelly did not mention.
What's that?
The Floral Conservatory.
Ooh, that's true.
The most, as we all know, the most important thing in the city.
It is. Yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't at the top of her list.
I was actually out with some friends, some friends I don't see very often. We were at a Bushwhacker, and we were talking about the budget, and they were like, "Yeah, we really like the Floral Conservatory." I'm like, "Oh God, it's everywhere. Everybody's on about this Floral Conservatory." So it was top of mind for me.
Yeah, it is strange, right? Like that. I think a lot of people didn't even know that such a thing existed until all of this happened.
Turns out there's flowers. Although, as we said, as one person at the table said, if you want green stuff, just walk around Home Depot. I'm like, yeah, there's also just straight up lumber there. So if you want to see nature in a useful form, yes, I'm being a jerk. I do believe in the importance of the Floral Conservatory.
Yeah, I do too. At the same time, though, I mean, there was a lot of stuff on the list of cuts that I think would have been way more damaging to the community than the Floral Conservatory.
Yes, that's you're not wrong.
Yeah. Well, anyways, that was Kelly. She was great. One thing that came up during the delegations, which I thought was very interesting, and actually kind of set the tone. It was like an education moment for council that I thought was a very good thing to happen for a change. And in this case, it was Ian Cantello. He was the president of the Middle Management Union Association at the City of Regina. So yeah, he's like, the representative for all of the people who are not out of scope.
Okay.
But also like work desk jobs.
Right. So they're sort of managed. They people answer to them, but they're in scope.
Yep.
What a terrible job that must be.
Right?
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he was there with Tyler Hutchinson, who was the president of QP21, the outdoor union.
Yeah.
Outdoor Workers Union. But Ian Cantello, he did their initial presentation, which I thought I would play because he answers the question, why is the mill rate so friggin' high?
Our organization strongly urge council to adopt the 18.93% mill rate increase needed to expand municipal services. Property taxes have been artificially low for years now, and we need to make this decision so Regina can have the bright future it deserves. The reality is that Regina is not an easy city to build. Its very geography and geology work against us, creating challenges which should be at the forefront of every budget discussion. Some of the biggest challenges are the following. 1, Regina is flat, which makes it very difficult to get drinking water and wastewater to move where we want it to. That causes our sewers to be more expensive to operate. 2, Regina is not located close to a sustainable natural source of potable water. That is why we get our drinking water piped in from Buffalo Pound, over 100 kilometers away. 3, Regina experiences extreme temperature variations, a range of about 90 degrees Celsius. That makes heating and cooling our buildings more expensive. 4, Regina has some of the worst soil conditions you could build a city on. That means that our infrastructure, whether it's a sidewalk, a basement, a cistern, is being slowly crushed every day of every year, forever. A lot of cities have one of these problems, some 2 or 3. I don't believe there's another large city in North America with all 4. What that adds up to is that our infrastructure, our city, is more expensive to keep running than almost anywhere else. Our property taxes have not reflected this reality. They have been artificially low for years now, and it is taking its toll on our ability to make a city that works for its residents. And that only considers the physical difficulties of locating a city here. There's the provincial downloading of responsibilities, the pressure of being the support hub for half the province, our relative isolation from other large communities, and other logistical challenges. Essentially, Regina is city building on hard mode. Even with the absolute best workers, it would be a challenge. The staffing of Regina is functioning like a Formula One car right now. Everything is tuned for maximum efficiency. Council after council, budget after budget has shaved and molded and cut the administration until it's running right at the red line. Don't start ripping things out of the car now that it needs maintenance. Because just like a Formula One car, if Regina breaks down, it will be very expensive and time-consuming to fix.
So that was Ian Cantello from the Middle Management Association. Middle Managers, I'm not sure. Can't remember the name. But yeah, so he outlined the 4 big challenges of having a city in Regina and why, we've been keeping the mill rate incredibly low, and now our roads are crap, our pipes are crap, and so much stuff we have so many infrastructure problems that we have to catch up on. And there was a Deloitte report in the budget document that, said something similar. It basically said that it didn't identify these 4 items, but it did point out that the reason there's this pressure on our mill rate right now is that we have these massive capital spends that we're doing at the moment. And a lot of that is catch up on all of this ancient infrastructure that just can't handle living in Regina anymore. And so you'd think at the end of day 2 that we would come out of that after having this parade of people saying invest in the city. The reason the mill rate needs to go up is understandable. Please support the great things in Regina that we wouldn't get major cuts. But then day 3 happened. And day 3 is when the delegations were done and the councillors got to speak. The clown car of councillors pulled up on day 3, and they started getting out, throwing all of their suggestions for cuts out of the car.
Right. The bad takes began to pile up.
Yeah, unfortunately. So yeah, the morning of Wednesday, December 17th, the mayor came in and he moved the budget. And now in the past, what we have with a budget is administration has gone through and done a bunch of cuts. This time, the mayor took the 15.69% and he moved a huge list of cuts to get the budget down to a 10.73% mill rate increase on the morning of Wednesday, December 17th. Now, I don't know, man. If it were up to me, I'm looking at a 15.69% mill rate increase with maybe a 19% at the upper range, and my neighbors and my residents are phoning me up and kicking my ass over this.
Mm-hmm.
The mayor comes in and says, hey, I've shaved 5% off this budget. I'd be like, done. Let's go do Christmas. Of course, that's not what happened. But anyways, I was going to run through a few of the cuts that the mayor did come with, because he did the thing that he said when he was here visiting us. He said he thinks he can find a way to do this without making any major cuts, like killing the community investment grant program, or killing Light the Lights, or killing the Floral Conservatory in the Cathedral Neighborhood Center and the Neil Balkwell Center. Things he did were reduce facility maintenance by $160,000, reduce the downtown public washroom operations by $50,000, reduce custodial services in city facilities by $80,000. Okay, so now cuts like this, they will make some city stuff more stinky, but these wouldn't be very sort of public facing. Turn some Class B parks into Class C. So Class B parks are irrigated, but they're not like Victoria Park, right? Like the nice parks. Irrigated. Class C parks are not irrigated, and so they would take a bunch of sort of Class B parks and treat them as though they're Class C parks, which are typically less maintained. Reduce a consulting budget, reduce pavement markings, a fleet reduction option, that would save like almost $2 million. The big ones that I think people found very controversial were not hiring one human resources consultant to deal with like LGBTQ plus equity issues and like the whole community safety and well-being plan and how it's implemented at the city. That would save $90,000. Also cancel an addition to the bus service this year that was scheduled to happen, which was increase service on Sundays and holidays, 7 to 9 p.m. So get rid of that. And then also, and this one kind of stunk, increase bus fares by 10% across the board.
Ooh.
So this was like a 3-page list of changes, and it did, some of them stung, but nothing was making the city bleed out in where I was sitting.
The vents, from the vents.
Yes, from the vents. It seemed like it could have been so much worse.
If they could have taken out all the vents in the city. Oh,
right.
You'd have then you wouldn't be able to spy on the proceedings ever again.
Yeah. Like what if they just sealed them over?
Oh no.
It'd be like some real cask of Amontillado stuff for us.
Yeah. What if they filled them in with like delicious antipasto and crackers? Oh no, don't do that, city. Please.
That wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah, I know.
We could eat our way out.
Yeah. I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
But could we fit through the vents, by the time we got partway through? Because antipasto is pretty calorie heavy.
That's true. So it'd be like a real Winnie the Pooh situation. From cask of Amontillado to Winnie the
It's a happy ending from cask of Amontillado to Winnie the Pooh, although the outcome is kind of similar.
That was where the mayor left things. And so then they had to go away for an hour to read this because the mayor said that he had consulted with councillors about this, and then he had taken it to staff to make sure that the changes he was suggesting were reasonable. But nobody else on council had read this list. So they went into in-camera session for an hour, and it was just basically everybody just got an hour to read the new budget, basically.
Oh, geez, okay.
Yeah. Anyways, we should move on to innovative revenue tools.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have any. I feel like I'm innovative revenue tooled out.
I did think that we could perhaps bottle and sell the antipasto. That
would be nice. Regina brand antipasto.
Yeah, City Hall meant antipasto.
Nice. Okay.
That'd be great. People
let's do that.
People would eat it up, literally.
And so will we. And we're back from innovative revenue.
Whoa! Did you hear about those tools that may have just been aired?
I did, and they were awesome.
They were awesome.
Always awesome. Hey, let's take a moment at this holiday episode to remind people that we are broadcast on 91.3 FM CJTR, AccessNow Community Radio. It is a community radio station, and if you're listening to this just before Christmas and you don't have a tuppence for a goose, you could spend $30 for a year and become a member of CJTR, AccessNow Community Radio.
Yeah, and $30 is about the same value as a tuppence. So there you go.
There's been a lot of inflation since the 19th century.
Oh, there sure has.
And you know what else with these memberships? You can buy them for other people. You could buy them a membership to community radio, community media, and put it in their stocking.
Oh, there's a word for when you buy something for somebody else, like you spend the money, but some other person gets the good or service.
Yeah, you're a sucker. That's what it is.
Oh, that's right. So this year, be a total sucker and get a community radio membership for somebody else.
Yeah. Or
for yourself, in which case you're no sucker. You're a savvy investor.
You are.
And also invest in Access Community Radio's new crypto coin.
What's it called?
Access, but with $signs at the end.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Access crypto. Now.
Speculate, gamble, lose your shirt.
Yeah, things suck. Anyways, where did we leave off?
We were kind of lost in the woods on that revenue and gift bit, but we were talking about the budget and how essentially the mayor came up with a list of cuts and the councillors had an hour to read it in camera and sort of come up with an opinion on the whole mess.
Yeah, the mayor has his cuts, and like I said, if it were up to me, everybody would have gone home at this point. It would have been like, guys, we did great. We shaved 5% off. What else do we need to do? But that's not what happened. So they drew lots for who was going to get to speak first.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe they just spend some money on rubber stamps and go. Punk.
There was no budget, nothing in the budget for rubber stamps, Aiden.
See that's their fatal flaw. That's what dragged it out so long. If they'd had rubber stamps, they would have been like, "Hey, let's use these."
Well, no, that's not what dragged it out for so long.
Oh well.
I'll tell you what dragged it out for so long.
Do tell.
Apparently, we elect a bunch of people to council, don't know anything about how it works.
Well, that's that. I mean, you're not hiring experts. You're hiring passionate politicians is what you're hiring.
Yeah. Last year, we put out a podcast shortly after the last budget. And it wasn't even last year. Christ, it was March. We just did this in freaking March. And that was last year's budget. So everything should have been fresh in their memories. And I think I called that episode when I posted it online, the Know Nothing budget. I think this one's going to have to be called Another Know Nothing budget.
Still don't know nothing budget. I still don't know what you did last summer budget.
Yeah. You really got a sense. So over the next, so it started on the 3rd. They didn't finish until the evening of the 5th day. So they went from Wednesday morning till late on Friday. And you could really tell which councillors, A, had some experience, B, had done their homework, and C, who were just sort of weirdly sort of like virtue signaling to their conservative base. And one of the things that you ended up seeing were councillors like Bezo, Rasevich, and Sickleys would be bringing motions. And basically, this is how it would work. They'd say, I want to cut this thing. And then they would follow that up with, but wait, what is this thing? And what does it do? And then administration would explain it to them. And then they would discover that this thing was load bearing. And they would be like, oh, wait, no, let's not cut this thing. And this would be like a half hour later. And they'd be like, let's not cut this thing. I will withdraw that motion. And so we kept having motion after motion after motion where these councillors, and the ones that I spoke about, Rasevich, Sickleys, Bezo, they were the worst offenders on this, where they weren't really clear on the implications of what they were trying to cut. They were just going down M13. They saw something that they didn't recognize as important. They're like, well, I can go. And
I don't know what it is, so it must not be important.
Yeah. For instance, I'll talk about so Rasevich came on hard and he had a whole bunch of cuts that he wanted to do his first time at the mic, because this whole thing, everybody got 5 minutes at the mic twice. So that's 55 minutes times 2, 110 minutes to make their cuts. And by the end of day 1, they'd gotten through the first 10 minutes of speaking.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah. So this is how things were getting drawn out. Rasevich brought a motion to reduce the housing incentive plan from 1.56 million to 1.06 million. But then upon interrogation and discovering that, actually that housing incentive plan actually does incentivize a bunch of housing and developers are actually getting usable amounts of money, he was like, oh yeah, no, let's not do that.
Right.
And then wanted to eliminate funding for the paratransit service expansion. And he didn't realize that this had actually already been passed earlier by Councillor Zakidniak, which is something worth describing later. But so, yeah, it was something that had actually already happened that day, and he had just forgotten, and he tried to, so he had to withdraw that. Councillor Bezo tried to cancel the electric buses again, which is something he tried to do in March and was informed, well, no, that would actually put us into tremendous legal jeopardy and we would lose all the funding for it and have to pay for them anyways. So that got retracted. Councillor Sickleys, he tried to reduce the scope of the indoor aquatic facility, which council had just approved the scope of the indoor aquatic facility in July. And administration was like, since you approved this in July, we hired a construction manager, a construction company, and they hired a bunch of subcontractors. So if we reduce the scope of this project right now, we're going to be in enormous legal jeopardy. And so that got withdrawn. Councillor Sickley's also tried to just kill all of our support for the Provincial Capital Commission and was informed, well, actually, Councillor Sickley's, that's illegal. Because there's legislation that says we have to contribute a third of their budget, along with our partners, the University of Regina, the province of Saskatchewan. So if we just didn't pay, the province of Saskatchewan would just like garnish that money out of the gas tax that they pay us.
Wow.
Yeah.
I kind of have a late idea for an innovative revenue tool.
Ooh, awesome.
It's going to be a series of tapes, VHS tapes, I hope, called the Bezo Siklis Rasevich weight loss plan, where they give you diet tips and tricks. All it is they're like, let's look at our own body. What about the heart? Do we need that? Can we just cut out the heart? That's how many pounds is that? And then someone says, well, actually that pumps blood. You need that. Oh, okay, I guess not. What about the left leg? Well, you need that to walk by and large, and it's very expensive to get prosthetics. Oh, never mind. What about the kidney and liver? All these little bits and pieces inside. And that's just all it is. It's just hours of them doing that.
I say we could cut about 20% of our budget by cutting off the head. Is that important?
Yes.
I've never used mine.
There's lots of really obvious jokes to be made there, which I shall not make. But yes, anyway, so just 5 installments of $29.95 each for the entire set. I think those would sell like hotcakes.
I think so too.
Or like jars of antipasto.
Yeah. One thing I was starting to realize is that a lot of these cost-cutting things, like trying to cut the indoor aquatic facility, surely Sickley's knew that this wasn't going to fly. A lot of these things that they tried to get through, you knew they just weren't going to pass. Rasevich tried to reduce the funding on the Winter City strategy. Oh yeah, that was argued against because that would mean ending frost. And if we did that, all the contracts we have for frost right now would put us into legal jeopardy.
I love that they seem to be focusing on stuff that will just absolutely legally rock our butts if we try to whatever. It's just what happens when you just look at a number on a page and you're not paying attention to what it is or considering any context or have any memory, like even for stuff that happens earlier that day.
And I've got an example of the most egregious instance that we saw. And this is from our friend, Councillor Mark Burton. And this is regarding the CIGP, the Community Investment Grant Program. That's that grant program that supports over 150 nonprofits and arts associations and groups across the city. Here we go.
So this here is something that was on my list to just with a bunch of the organizations and funding and with no favorites that I introduced a motion that was to have a 5% haircut for the CIGP grants.
Okay, so as we bring it up here, if anybody, there it is there. So I'll look for a seconder for Councillor Burton's amendment. Councillor Sickley's. Okay, Councillor Burton, that's your 3 minutes to go ahead for any comments or questions.
Thank you. First, many people, groups, and organizations have petitioned asking that cuts not affect them. Don't hit me. Our group is important. We're valuable to the city. I agree 100%. But we have tough decisions to make. I've listened to many delegations, and many say they want to ensure that underprivileged groups are able to access their facility or program free. But groups need to understand they need to explore additional monetization opportunities. This doesn't mean extraordinary effort, but reasonable effort. But this does mean, for example, changing from a voluntary donation bin at the door that is ignored by many to a fee at the door, or whatever innovative revenue solution you can think of. And allow someone who self-discloses an issue with the ability to pay to gain access, or to provide vouchers for groups and individuals are identified as appropriate for support. I was amazed to hear that the Floral Conservatory gained 200 members once word it was out, it was on the list. That is awesome news. Who gets the credit? And by no means did being on the list mean any decision had been made. But why does it take a potential crisis to mobilize community interest? Groups and individuals that want to improve community-based organizations need to continue to ride the wave of interest. And community groups can't sit back. They need to grow the program with increased and renewed vigor. I've heard the request from many groups, and I will withdraw this motion. Thank you.
Sorry, what?
Yeah.
That was weird. Did he change his mind midway through? It's very odd, Mark. Yeah.
I think he might have been grandstanding.
But it's an odd political strategy to say, here is my motion to cut everything, and surprise, I'm cutting nothing. Never change, Councillor Burton.
Yeah.
Do you realize, though, he came within a hair's breadth of saying innovative revenue tools. I felt like he was actually like going there and then like had to swerve into solutions at the last moment.
He knew that we were going to put like a cease and desist against him.
That's right.
Get that out of your mouth, Councillor Burton.
Yeah, that's a little bit odd. But okay.
He made mention of putting an easy to ignore tin for donations by the door instead of charging a fee to get in.
Right.
Which reminds me of a couple of things. I do recall the Queen City Improvement Bureau putting a tin for donations for the Artesian at the door for our Artesian live show.
That's right.
And the Cathedral Village Arts Festival does the same with every festival. And I'm like, come on, man. The show that we did with the Artesian was extremely successful for everybody involved, even though we didn't charge for tickets. And I think if we had charged tickets on a night when we were up against the Blue Jays, nobody would have come.
Perhaps.
Yeah. But with the Arts Festival, I know for a fact that for a lot of their shows, they make way more off donations than they would ever make off selling tickets to some of the stuff they do, because people are generous and they like the Arts Festival. And some people will show up to a show and kick a 20 in the pot for a show that you could have only charged like $5-10 for usually.
But I would like to say that if we charged for people to come and see the Queen City Improvement Bureau go up against the Blue Jays, I think people would pay to see that.
Oh, for sure.
I think they'd lose in the political commentary part of the evening, but 100%. Probably fare a little better in the baseball part.
Yeah. And at the end of it, people would say that Aiden, he's got quite the arm on him.
I know, but like the problem is that there's only a team of two.
Yeah,
and
that's why we would lose.
That's why we'd lose, not because of a skill issue or anything. Just
we lack quorum for that too.
That's right. Sheer numbers. We looked at the numbers. We took a page out of Bizot's book. We looked at the numbers and realized it just wasn't going to work, which is why we sent the Blue Jays home at the last moment. And then we saying, you've got a World Series to get to. And they were so demoralized they lost the World Series. True story.
It's true. We're the reason.
Exactly. So
what do you get if you win the World Series? Is it just like a pennant? Do you get like a penny?
I don't actually know. Not me not being a sports fan. I'm sure you get something cool looking.
You must.
What do the World Series winners get? Okay, this was well, they get 36% of the pool, whatever the pool is. I think it's not a swimming pool. Okay. The Commissioner's Trophy. They get the Commissioner's Trophy. That is not to be confused with the WNBA's Commissioner's Cup. That's the WNBA does not play baseball, I think. So anyway, that's unlike the Stanley Cup. It's a kind of a cool looking trophy, I got to admit.
I don't give a fig about trophies, but if I'd known there was money involved, I might have played baseball better.
There you go.
What?
Sorry, the cash prize. They receive a cut of the of the money earned from playoff gate receipts. But the World Series champion gets the biggest cut, and the runner-up gets the next biggest cut.
We got Jack, man.
I know. Yeah. We would have been the runners-up too. So
yeah. Exhibition game, though.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, one of the things I noticed about budget time is certain councillors seem to take a strange amount of glee in the cutting they were doing, right? Like, I really felt like there wasn't a sort of seriousness to what they were doing, or they were serious about the wrong things. Councillor Bizo is a really good example of this. He kept coming with these incredibly long amendments. And now budget amendments are supposed to be about the budget. But Councillor Bizo kept trying to change policies and linking them into the budget. And one of them was he had this idea for a hiring freeze. And the whole idea of a hiring freeze was buried in among things like the administration will have to work with collective bargaining units to come up with efficiency plans, a thing that administration is already doing. They'll have to review the Deloitte efficiency review report and report back on how many efficiencies they've got done, a thing that administration does all the time. And then they'd have to conduct another core services review, which was a thing that was done way back in 2004, which was basically an efficiency review, which is very similar to the efficiency review that Deloitte did under Masters, only it covered more city operations than Deloitte got to. And then everything would have to get run through audit and finance. And they went in camera for half an hour, and it came back, well, yeah, you can't do any of that because you're supposed to be doing budget stuff, and it's supposed to be about money, not writing policy. So he rewrote this, and he incidentally called that draft his latest and greatest version of his signature amendment. And then he came back with, well, let's just cut funding by $8 million in efficiencies and do a hiring freeze. And it was pointed out to him, well, that's what we did last year with that 1.5. We just cut from the budget that was unfunded. And this would be 5 times worse. And that didn't work out. So we cut that out. So we got down to a hiring freeze. And he was like, well, I want a hiring freeze. Until we know how many efficiencies we're getting, I don't want us to hire any more full-time equivalents.
Right, FTEs, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the clerk had to point out to him that administration can't hire any new FTEs without council's approval. So you don't have to have a hiring freeze. You can just vote no. So the whole thing got withdrawn. But damn, he was excited to get his hiring freeze on the floor of council, which just seemed like such a mean-spirited thing to do in the holiday season.
Yeah, he loves to get up in front of city administration and say, what if you nice job. Shame if something were to happen to them.
Yeah.
That's what occurred to me is that a lot of these amendments or these for motions and so on that they're passing that don't really make a lot of sense and end up getting withdrawn. I kind of wonder if they're just dumping the budget into ChatGPT or Copilot.
Oh my God.
And saying, hey, find me some efficiencies. Where can I cut? And it says sure, but it just spits back some nonsense at them, and they're like, "Looks good to me." I don't know if that's the case, but
that's interesting. Because we already know that Councillor Bizo's website for his campaign, pretty sure that was written by ChatGPT.
No human could have composed the kind of vapid slop that. Yes, I remember that was notable for clearly not being written by any human hand.
Yeah. He also, another one of his motions that didn't go anywhere, because again, he was trying to make policy, not just deal with the budget, is he wanted to allocate more money to speed up the financial department's adoption of this Oracle system to handle all of their financial reporting. And he had included in a list of things that had to go along with this extra money was that it would be built to be AI ready, which I thought was very strange. And of course, councillors don't get to decide how software is implemented.
No, this is
administration.
This is a bizarre thing to float as a matter of policy in council.
Yeah. So he was basically told, look, you can't dictate policy. And worse than just during budget time, administration gets to make decisions about how they run the administration.
Yep.
So interestingly, so Bezo, his success rate was like, I think 0%, where he got absolutely nothing passed and had to withdraw several motions. Rasevich also very low pass rate and a few withdrawn amendments. Sickleys did manage to get a few things through. The people who had the highest success rate, Councillor Fro came out with he wanted some debt reporting. I don't know why that was in order because that had nothing to do with the budget, but that got passed unanimously. He wanted to allocate annually $1.32 million for 5 years to the General Reserve Fund and $1.01 million per year for 5 years to the Asset Revitalization Fund. And this was, Darren Anderson, the CFO, pointed this out when he was on our show, that the city's reserves are in a bad position, and these are the two most important reserves. So one of the first things Fro did when he had the mic was create a funding stream towards those two reserves. And so that's why you don't have, that's why the mill rate's up from 10.7 to 10.9 is a spending thing like this. Councillor Zakidniak also had like a large motion. So she showed up with a bunch of improvements to transit she wanted and a bunch of cuts that she wanted to offset them so it would be revenue neutral. And the mayor looked at her and he was like, wow, thank you. This is great. Great work. I'll support this. And so what she wanted to add was some transit security training and trauma training, because transit operators are seeing crazy stuff these days.
I'm sure they are.
And also hire 2 peace officers who would basically, they'd be between a security guard and a cop in terms of authority. They'd be like super security guards. And these 2 officers would like ride the bus all day. And if there were problems developing on a bus, they could intervene and they could call the police while the transit operator is driving the bus.
I'm going to say these are like bus marshals. That's what I'm calling them.
Yeah.
It's not totally accurate,
yeah.
but I'm going to call them bus
That's
marshals.
a great name, but they were going with peace officer because I think they thought it was more peaceful. But anyways. And by doing this, she wanted to like get rid of the 10% transit fare increase. And unfortunately, what happened was, so she had these cuts to offset this. And she was like, well, this late service that we were supposed to put through this year, let's just partially implement it. So we won't get late transit service on Sundays or Saturdays, but we're going to get it all week long. So not getting the whole suite of improvements, but getting some of them. And also, what else? She would get rid of disability training, which administration said, well, we're not going to, if we're doing the security training, we're not going to have time for disability training. And she went to administration and worked these cuts out and these enhancements out. And the peace officers, this was an idea from the transit union. So this is something that the transit operators were calling for. So she had administration on side, she had the union on side, and she brought it to council. And council was like, let's split all these up and vote on them one at a time. And they approved the security, they approved the peace officers, they rejected the transit fare decrease. So she wanted to get rid of the 10%. They said, no, let's keep the 10% increase. And then they also passed all of the cuts that she had approved, that she came up with. And so she was like, well, crap, I only wanted those cuts because it was going to, make it possible for us to not hike fares. So she actually voted against her motion in this case. Yeah. But anyways, she did get these peace officers through. Councillor Turnbull, she also, she got some stuff passed. Flores got some stuff passed. Oh crap, what was Turnbull's? Oh, Turnbull got an increase to transit, parking fines and to the cost of parking.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that brought some revenue in to offset some of the money that was going to be going to reserves. And she tried to tie this to bringing down the transit fare increase. But again, the votes got separated and the transit increase was kept. So it went back and forth and up and down. Councillor Flores was able to take a bunch of money from the finance department for a project that they have enough money for and they can delay it for a bit. And she was able to get that 2S LGBTQ IA plus person in human resources funded. So those were your councillors. Flores, Zakidniak, Fro, Turnbull. I think Radden's got something passed. I can't remember what it was. These guys actually got things through. Your grumpy Facebook grandpas, not so successful. And at the end of the day, we got our 10.9% mill rate increase, which is way better than it could be. But, you know, Merry Christmas. You've got 5% less 5% less tax you're going to have to pay.
Could be worse. That's my considered opinion.
Yep.
It could be worse.
I think, you know, I was actually on side Kelly Lawrence and Ian Cantello's pleas to like go for the full 15. I was like, I'm there, man. They sold me. They were like so peppy and upbeat. It was that's all I needed. That's all I needed to like get me like enthused to pay taxes. Anyways.
Well, bring it on. I will pay through the nose for this here sub-basement in which we grow.
I think now that we're down to like 18, down from 15% or 15.69 to 10.9, I think the cost per household is like $18 to $20, somewhere in there. They said, and I've already forgotten. Oh, wait a second. Maybe I wrote it down. That would have been smart. I did not write it down. Yeah, no, I didn't write it down. The final vote on the operating budget. One of the things the council was, I'll wrap this up fast.
Sure.
Council kept talking about how great this new system for doing the budget was. There were some rocky patches, they would say, but we learned a lot and it'll only get better. The final vote on the operating budget and the capital budget and the debt was 6-5. So that was like one vote away from failing. So yeah, your new system, which was so great, you almost didn't get a budget out of it. Voting against the budget was Sickles, Bezo, Burton, Rasevich, and Zakidniak. Zakidniak's argument was this whole system was ridiculous. We don't know what we're doing. We should be listening to administration and not making this stuff up on the floor of council. And so she was not comfortable passing the budget. I think she did the same thing in March, but anyways.
Well, you know what? I understand that position.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. On the one hand, yes. On the other hand, please, let's just have a budget going into the new year, which, you know, it's probably not the best position to take when you're thinking about people's lives and livelihoods. But wow, I was very ready to be done with this.
Yeah. Well, it's all over. They're not meeting again. I think they might not be meeting again until February. I'm not sure. Yeah.
What are we going to do?
I don't know. Have fun.
Enjoy our lives. Think about other things for a change.
I think we're kind of done. I think we're done here. I think we can move on to our holiday celebrations.
Yay! I'm gonna go. I'm selling my condo and I'm gonna move into the floral conservatory. See how long I can live there before someone notices.
Nice. I'm just gonna live on the bus.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you'll be a bus marshal, or you'll pretend to be a bus marshal.
Yeah. Maybe I'll apply for the job.
Hey.
Yeah, I'll just ride the bus for 24 hours, guys. You can count on me.
Yep. Because we can't have those buses riding around 24 hours completely empty, as Bezo claims. Nope. There's Paul, bus marshal.
Yep.
Bus marshal Paul.
Yeah. All right. We should probably wrap her up. We're pretty much out of time.
All right. So move to adjourn.
I would second that motion.
All right. Motion is passed. You've been listening to the Queen City Improvement Bureau in cyberspace. Also on, Access Community Radio, 91.3 FM CJTR. We usually go live 7 to 8 p.m. on Thursday evenings and rebroadcast Monday afternoon, 3 to 4 p.m. Maybe that'll happen with this one. We don't know. We'll see. You'll hear whatever. Coming up next, nothing. Because once this ends, everything ends. That's it.
Welcome
Happy
to
holidays.
the void.
That's right. Enjoy the void. Keep on improving, Regina.